Hi, everybody. How's this virtual learning for you guys? I think it would be kind of hard for me, but you guys are probably a lot more smart than I am anyway. I'm Mr. Paul. I'm an artist, and I am an art instructor. I've been doing that for a really, really long time. I'm glad you're here. Uh, we're going to be doing a new project today. It's called Real Fear and Fake Fear. Now, before we kind of get into what we're going to be doing, I just want to let everybody know the materials that you're going to use, the medium that you're going to use today. Medium is a word that artists use to describe the materials that they actually use. So if we were working in oil paint, your medium would be oil paint. Today, it's going to be simple. It's going to be just regular white paper, pencils, erasers, crayons, or you could use markers if you wanted. I prefer colored pencils, and so I'm going to be using colored pencils today. So if you've got that together, let's begin. But before we do the actual artwork, I want to kind of talk to you about fear. I know that when I was a kid, I had certain fears that I had. I know that a lot of kids like to be scared, watching scary movies and stuff like that. I had a brother that always tried to scare me when I was a kid, with doing dumb stuff, right? I'm sure you have somebody maybe like that at home yourself. But what I really want to talk to you about is two different things about fear. Real fear and fake fear. There's a major difference, and I've been working with young people for a long time, and I have over those periods of over 20 years, I realized that a lot of young people don't really know the difference between real fears and fake fears. If you are freaked out about zombies, well, that's a fake fear, right? It's in literature. It's people have written books and made movies, but they don't actually exist. So if you want to have fun and be scared of zombies, go for it. But never think for a minute that that's real. That zombie is going to crawl in your window at night and try to eat your brain, right? It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen, right? And then there are real fears. Real fears are things that could actually happen, right? Like if you're fearful when you're young walking across the street. Well, that can be kind of fearful because we know that people get into accidents and things like that happen. So you have to be really careful and you have to be really kind of aware, right, when you're crossing the street. So that could be considered kind of a real fear. And so today what we're going to do is we are going to divide our paper into halves, right? You can either draw a line down the center, or then what I like to do is I like to fold my paper in half, right? And so I have one side and two sides. So the first thing that I want you to do while we're talking about this fearful stuff is that on the top of one of the sides of your paper, I want you to write the word fake, F-A-K-E. It's fake fears, a lot of scary movies are based on fake fears. And then on the other side at the top, and you don't have to make these letters big, these words big. You can make these just really simple and small. But on the other side, I want you to write the word real, R-E-A-L. So we have, what we're going to do today is we're going to start by trying to draw two different pictures. One of the fake fears that you have and maybe one of the real fears that you have. You see here, I finished one so you can kind of see my ideas of my fake fears and my real fears. Tornadoes when I was young was scary, so I used a tornado in mine. Tornadoes are real easy to draw. And the little house, being threatened by the tornado. I was in a tornado once where it hit the house, and it was just so scary for me. And then the other one is the goofy lizard person here. That is my fake fear. For a long time when I was little, I thought that creature from the Black Lagoon was real, right? And when I got a little older, I realized that wasn't the case. That's a fake fear. So when you realize something's a fake fear, you can just pluck that out of your brain and throw it away because it doesn't need to frighten you anymore. Oh, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't believe it. I think everybody is kind of fearful at times, not always, but sometimes. I know a real good friend of mine that was in Afghanistan for 3 terms, and I talked to him about the fear factor over there. That was a war zone, right? He was a soldier. And he said he was fearful all the time, simply because it was a dangerous place to be. So even the strongest heroes that we hear about in our country and around the world, fear is something that is real, and guess what? Everybody has fears. Everybody does, whether they admit it or not. So let's get back to the project at hand. I want you to think of a fake fear that you can draw on one side of your paper, the side that says fake. It's a fake fear. I know that in the elementary schools that I've worked with, a major favorite is Chucky, right? Well, guess what? Chucky is not real, right? So to get real creeped out and freaked out about Chucky getting you, it's never ever going to happen. And you gotta learn. That's something that you learn as you get a little older, and all of you will, as you become more older and become an adult. You'll be able to figure out, oh well, this is real dumb, right? This is dumb. This is fake, and these things are the things that I am concerned about. I sometimes worry about. And I think it's so important for young people to understand that, hey, I tell you what, there are things out there to worry about, to be concerned about. And so to clutter yourself with a lot of stuff that truly, truly doesn't exist, why, that's just kind of like, you don't need it. You don't need it. So, back to the project. I want you to think of one of the fake fears that just scares you to death when you see the movie or you read it or you see a video or what have you. Like, I remember having this huge conversation about Slender Man when Slender Man became real popular, and everybody I knew was telling me that it was real. Well, I didn't think it was real, so I looked it up. I looked at different places on the internet, and I talked to a lot of people, and it's a story. It's a story basically to scare kids. Slender Man does not exist. So, that's one side of the story, it's fear. The second story is, I want you to think of something in your real life that you worry about. That really kind of scares me. I know that about a year ago, one of our dogs got real sick, and eventually he died. And that was so sad. but I worried about it, and I was afraid that I was going to lose my dog. That's something that was real. I worried about that. It frightened me that, oh no, what can I do, And so there are real things out there to be concerned about. But, Frankenstein or the werewolf or the mummy or any of all the other crazy things that are in movies don't need to be one of them. Again, there's enough concern out in the real world to think about. I go cluttering your head with a bunch of stuff to be afraid of. Real fear. You notice that on my poster over here, I already did my poster, a real fear of mine. And not really that much as I got older, but I used to be really, really afraid of tornadoes because tornadoes are real. And I've been in a few tornadoes and they're really, really scary. So that's why when the alarms go off in the city, I don't mess around. I go to cover. I've experienced that and know how fearful it is. So when the alarms go off or we have tornado alerts, there's a little bit of fear. Not something that just drives me nuts, but there's this little fear that I get in that is real because I've experienced it. Most of my family, back when that giant tornado hit Moore, Oklahoma, they lived in Moore, Oklahoma. And so that was an added fear of mine. That was a real fear. Whereas when I was a kid, one of the scariest shows I ever saw was called The Hand. And what it was only this hand that crawled around and creeped everybody out. Well, at the time, you couldn't convince me. Right? That was not real. But as I got a little older, I realized, hey, this is just somebody's imagination, an artist. Those tricky artists. Those artists created this for the sole purpose of frightening people. And so, two things, fake, real fear. I want you to draw as large as you can on your paper. So like on mine, I've got two big things. One of them is a monster that kind of was a big thing for me when I was a kid. It was called the Creature of the Black Lagoon. And it was this kind of lizard animal that lived in the water and was, going crazy and scaring people. And I remember that just scaring me to death. And I kept that with me up until I hate to say it, but up until I was like in middle school, right? So I made it. It does look a little bit funny, but that's okay. And I chose, like I said before, the tornado. So, like any art project that we do, we have to come up with our ideas out of our own mind, right? Our own mind. And I want you to try to use a kind of art called realism. Even though it might be cartoonish, right? That's okay. But you're trying to create a picture that kind of looks real. And that's what realism is. There's abstract art. I know you've heard about abstract art. There's all kinds of art. But today what I want you to do is I want you to try to draw something that looks as real as possible. We'll do other projects where we can do abstract stuff and everything. But for today, that's what I want you to do, realism. To recap, this is the first, this is part one of the project, Real Fear and Fake Fear. And we will do that. We are doing that right now. We're going to be taking a break in a little bit, and we are going to come back, and we're actually going to start drawing this stuff. You can go ahead and start drawing right now if you got your ideas. Got to have your ideas first. Don't pick up a pencil and start drawing until you actually have an idea. The idea. What are those simple fears that you have, and what are those really fake fears? But anyway, I'll be back in a little bit. Start up, and when we get back, we'll talk about more about fear and everything else. Bye.